Welcome to How is Life Abroad, the podcast that explores the myriad experiences of living in a foreign land, hosted by the insightful Rosalia Shiweva. Join us on this fascinating journey as we uncover the diverse narratives that shape the expatriate experience.
Cool. Let's start and have this discussion. Hello, everyone. My name is Rosalia Shiweva, and welcome to today's discussion. I'm speaking to a fellow content creator, an amazing content creator, and I will introduce myself and then you can introduce yourself. As I said, I'm Rosalia Shiweva. I'm Namibian. I lived in China for 10 years and I recently relocated back to my home country. And today we are just discussing about our lives in China. Yeah? Alicia, how are you feeling? And please do introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Alessia. I'm from Italy, and I went to China for the first time when I was 17 years old. Recently, I've just graduated from university in China, in Shanghai. And then I got two offers. So I was supposed to work in China, but then I decided to go back to Europe. And now, right now, I'm working in Budapest for a Chinese company, which is Huawei.
All right, great. Thank you so much for allowing me to have this time with you and just talk about our experience living in China. Yeah. So how we'll do it is we'll talk. You can ask any question. I can ask any question, just with the floor. Let's start from the very beginning. I'll share my experience of going to China and then you'll do. So from the very beginning, how did we end up in China? You said you went to China at 17 years old. And I went to China when I was 19 years old. Or at that time, I finished my high school and I was applying for scholarship at different places. Or through the scholarship, or that was a partnership, my country, Namibia and China. That's how I got my opportunity for the scholarship to come to China. So at the time, I was in university already, studying a specific course in the Namibian university, but meanwhile, I was still applying for opportunities to go abroad. So, and then I got an opportunity to come and study my bachelor's in China. And ever since then, yeah, I've been part of China. And that's how I got my opportunity to be in China. How about you, Alicia? How was it for you?
For me, it was different because I was still in high school and I participated in a contest where you had to take some exams and then you had to make some interviews with, the organization's representative. Oh my God. Okay,
Yeah,
we can just say.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So
Mhm.
So for me, it's different because I was still in high school when I went to China. I participated to a contest and there were like exams and interviews. I passed them and then I won a scholarship of 13,000 euros. And this scholarship has allowed me to go to China without, paying nothing. Like the flight was paid, the accommodation was paid, the school was paid. Essentially the food was paid. So essentially the only thing that I paid during that year was when I traveled to, different parts of China, cities. There I spent my money, but this scholarship that I won, uh, it was complete with everything I needed to live in China. And also we had a little stipend, like every single month they would give us a little bit of money to buy other stuff. So this is like how I ended up in China. I actually also like chose other countries, and at the end, like the organization said, okay, you first like decided, for example, 10 countries for you were okay, but we decided for you China. And I was, over the moon because like my cousin had also done this experience. So, I already heard him back at the time talking about China. And so that like I went there, I studied Chinese, and then, I finished that year abroad in China. I went back to Italy, and then I decided to go to university.
Oh, so that means you initially came 1 year and then you went back and then you made another decision to come back to China, right?
Exactly.
Wow, that's impressive. And at 17 years old, they just gave you the opportunity to come and study Chinese in China
Yes,
for
it
one
was
year.
just for 1 year. Yes.
Mm. And that time, it was more like you are finishing your high school in China. Is that the case?
Not really. No, not
Yeah.
really, because in Italy we have a 5 year period of high school. So in the fourth year I went to China, the fifth year I went, to Italy, and then the fifth year I graduated from high school. So it's not
All
like I
right.
finished high school in China. No, it was just one part. It was just 1 year of high
Okay.
school in China.
All right. For us, we also have 5 years in Namibia, 5 years program for high school. But usually what we do is, okay, most of the cases are we finish high school and then we can then find other opportunity after high school. Most Namibians are like that. But now there are programs, I think like the one that you took part, where students can go to other countries to complete their high school in the last 2 years of high school. Yeah. And that means when you came here, everything was catered for the first time, and you had great guidance. Someone was really like helping you. Tell me, how was it for you when you came for the very, very first time? How was your first night, your first like arrival? How was it like?
Okay, I'm not someone anxious, so I was pretty much relaxed. Also because, when we arrived to China, like our teachers went and, picked us up. So we were like always with someone uh, Chinese, and, they like, so it was not like a problem with the language because they could speak English. And back then my English was not really great because of course I was 17. I just, studied English at school. Um, but still, like it was enough to understand each other, and it was not a problem. So like I wasn't anxious, but of course I was like full of emotions because it was something like, before going to China at 17, I went to places in Italy, like also with my friends, like I traveled a little bit in Italy, but I had never went abroad before. So it was like something brand new for me. It was full of emotions, and with me there were also like other two Italians. So it was like, I was still able to speak Italian with them. I was still able to like how to say compare myself with them and support each other. So it was not like a big uh you know yeah. It was not like it was comfortable. It wasn't
Yes.
much.
Yeah, it was comfortable. I get that. I get that. Yeah. What do you think of my first time experience? You can also ask me any question. Don't hesitate,
Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah. And that's good for you because someone picked you up from the airport and then took you to your university, and then they can show you around. They took you around, right?
I mean, it was not a university, it was just a high school in China, in Heilongjiang.
Um,
So it was not Shanghai, because Heilongjiang is like in the north of China, very close to the Russian borders. So it's like in winter, it's like -30. When I arrived, it was August, so I didn't experience like right away that climate, but still later it got like that, -30, and yeah. And what about you? Like, what happened when you arrived to China?
Yeah, that was my very first time when I arrived to China. That was my first time to study in China, or I mean, not to study in China, but it was my first time traveling further away from my parents, really without any adult. And also another thing is I came from a very ordinary family back home where there are not so many. If you travel, maybe you go to the village, or maybe you have a chance to visit your auntie or uncle somewhere in another city. But because 18 years I spent it in my high school, the only opportunity I got was I took part in a lot of competition like debate, math competition, business competition, science competition. So that time the high school used to take us to the capital city, the smaller cities. Like I had those opportunity to move away from my parents. And another thing is I would maybe visit some aunties during the holiday. So you can see that that was the only opportunity for me to go out from my home. Then the major change was when I went to the capital city for 6 months to do my bachelor in Namibia at that time, because I did 6 months of university in Namibia before coming to China. So when I got my scholarship opportunity, it was more of like, okay, is it really happening or it's not happening? It was just like something was there, but we were fascinated about it. But at the same time, it's a new thing. People in my country, especially maybe 10 years ago, they were not really familiar with China, you know? So when I came, the good thing is we were 10 of us. We're like 10. And we shared from Namibia to the airport. We took the flights together. So 10 people together, flights together, and we arrived in Shanghai. And the good part, we had our senior who were already in front of us for 1 year. They were already in that university. We went to Tongji University. So the first time was not difficult for me, because I had my seniors there. I traveled with my country mates, and I was just little girl just in the squad going and like surprised that I'm gonna go somewhere, you know. I was like, really, the way I'm thinking about it was more like innocently just moving from my home place to another place with the unknown, like not knowing what to expect. And I think when you're young, you don't really even have fear of anything. And the good thing, we got, of course, my ticket was paid for, and there was allowance that was going to come to me every other month. So I was not having any panic. It was not a panic mode or anything. It was just like easy peasy or easy breezy, something like that. But literally don't know where we are going, but also not afraid of where we are going. That's how I remember it when I was the first time. And then I was just getting through it. I just got through it. And there were a lot of people around, like the seniors already, yeah. So they showed us a different market. When we got to the airport, I remember we got some food from, I think it's McDonald's or something. And then we got on the subway, and then we went to Tongji University. Tongji University is a very, very good university. I mean, the environment is nice, it's international. And there was a dorm of like international students, like an international building. So many international buildings from different countries. So that was the first time. And it was like, there was no fear, there was no problem. You're not afraid of anything. That was literally my first time. Yeah.
I think
And
it's important to ask.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
you
Did you
can
want to
go.
add something else?
I just remember when that time it was literally easy. Just a matter of like getting on the plane and getting to the other side. But in my mind, there was nothing like I was afraid of. Maybe my parents didn't know like our child is going somewhere, but there was no so much concern because no one was really saying any concern. Yeah.
What I was saying is that maybe like when you are young, you are fearless. But like if you do like this experience when you are already, I don't know, 30 years old for your first time, then it becomes a little bit like you can also do it, of course, but
Yeah.
it's different. Like the emotions are different because you start like when you're 30 or when you're even older, you start to worry about things. And right now I'm 23.
Oh,
Of course, like right now I'm in Budapest, so I changed country, I changed city and everything. Um, but still, like, why I'm here, why I'm not in China right now. Also because like sometimes I think like, okay, I stay in China and I got no time to visit my family, you know?
mm,
And it wasn't like this when I was 17. When I was 17, I stayed 1 year in China without, even going back to Italy. Like in the middle,
wow.
I always stayed in China without going back to Italy. And it wasn't a problem for me. Um,
Wow.
but if I think myself at 23 years old, not going back to Italy for one whole year, it's different. Like, of course I can do it. I did it. Like last year, I didn't go back like to Italy. I stayed always in China, but still I was like, oh, I miss my family, So I think
Oh,
the age makes the difference, but
yeah.
still these are experiences that I think like everyone should do it once in their life.
In their lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like especially about the age. I think that makes sense. And how was it for you when you came back the second time?
I mean, it was okay. Like I knew I was going to go back again to China. It wasn't like because like the first time that I went back to Italy, so like I went first to China when I was 17, then I finished my year abroad, then I finished my high school in Italy. The second time that I went to China, it was for 4 years, of course, because it was for university. And it was like it was for me normal because like I already knew, okay, now I'm here, tomorrow I will be again there, and always, going back to China, going back to Italy. But it was not like that because actually, I'm sorry, like I got a little bit because there was, I don't know if you can see like the notifications. Can you hear the sound of the notification of my phone?
Oh no, I didn't hear it.
Okay. Oh my God. I got a little bit like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to concentrate again now. I need to focus because I was worried that it was going to,
Yeah, it's going to affect the
you know,
whole plan, right? I get it.
I'm sorry.
I-
So,
It's all right.
okay,
Mhm.
okay, let's start again. So as I was saying, like, the second time that I went, like, back to Italy when I was in university, I was already sure I was going back to China, so it wasn't that big of an emotion. It was like normal for me that 4 years would pass like that, but unfortunately it wasn't like that because COVID got in the way. So I
Wow.
wasn't like 4 years like always traveling from China to Italy and from Italy to China. Because like at the beginning I was like, okay, I think I'm going to, let's say for the Chinese New Year, I'm going back to Italy for 1 month, and then for the summer's vacations, I'm again going back to Italy, but it wasn't like that actually. So I spent a little bit of a time in Italy, and then I was finally able to go back last year in October.
Oh,
So yeah, so I finished my 4th year, I graduated. I actually took 2 degrees, one in political science and public administration, and the second degree is in journalism. I wanted
oh,
also to start a master's degree, but then I was like, okay, no, you know what? Let's start working. And then like in 2 years, 3 years, maybe we'll see, we will, go back and study. I mean, not necessarily in China, there are still so many cool European
place.
countries that offer great programs to study a master's degree, but it's still
Yeah,
an option.
yeah,
The only
yeah.
thing is that, like, for a master's degree in China is like 3 years.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, maybe other people are like open to this. Of course,
Mm.
it also depends in which language you study. If you study a master's degree in Chinese, then it's 3 years. If you study English, like not if you study English, if you use English for studying your master's degree, then it's like only 2 years. So it depends
Yeah.
on your preferences, I think. And if you want to have a master's degree of 3 years, why not? That's, I think, a
Yeah.
personal choice.
Yeah. And how did you get the 2 degrees in the 4 years? Was it like more years, or was it, yeah, how was that?
No, it was 4 years. Even like if I would study only one degree, it was still 4 years, But then like in the second year, the university gave us this opportunity to study for a second degree. And so I took this double degree. So like you could have also opt out, it's not like you must do it like this. It's only, an opportunity that the university gives you. And I was, interested also because international relations are like very well linked with journalism. So I was like, okay, why not? I mean, this is like an opportunity that could make me, stronger and could help me a lot. Actually, right now, I'm not working in international relations or anything like that. I'm working for Huawei, and as I said before, and like my responsibility is to communicate with other offices in Europe. So like with other Huawei's offices in Europe. So like we are in Hungary, but then we need to communicate with offices in Italy, with offices in Belgium, in England. I mean, we still have we have a lot of work to do, but it's not related, like my job is not related to my degree. The only thing
Yeah.
that is related is that, I use Chinese to talk with my colleagues because they are like half of them are Chinese, half of them are Hungarian. So this was good, because I studied my degree completely in Chinese, and now I am able to talk to them in Chinese, and this makes the distance between me and us like, it reduces the
Closer.
distance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so impressive, so
What about
impressive.
you? What did you study?
I studied urban planning. Yeah. Urban planning, I studied, it's in the field of our Department of Urban Planning and Architecture. So the 3 years we do solely about architecture, building, um, designing from the plan to creating 3D models and just understanding how to set up a building, the 3 years. And then the 2 years, because my bachelor major was scheduled for 5 years. So the 5 years, you do 3 years of architecture and 2 years of like urban planning. So why is that different? I think it's just how the university set it up. However, it's in the whole department of architecture. So the students in this department, they all start at the same level, at the same place. They learn about one building, and then we branch out to landscape. Some people can branch out to landscape design, and then we branch out to urban planning. I branch out to urban planning, and then other people branch out to architecture design. Some other university offer courses even like urban design. Yeah, urban design is more of designing the malls, designing like it's not a whole one building, but a bigger scale of a building than just one small building. But urban planning, for what I took was more of trying to design the land layout, like on the surface. Where can we put the schools? Where can we put the hospitals? Where can we put the like the service station, the metro station? That's the job for urban planner. In the shortest way how to explain it. So my major was in Chinese as well. And I can tell you for a fact that 5 years of my bachelor degree was like the hardest time. because I was learning, of course, I was learning Chinese, but at the same time, I was also learning a new language, which is like creating, designing. Because my story is I never trained to technical drawing in my high school. I was doing biology, physical science, maths, and with some part of geography and history. I think those ones were just like my extra subject that I liked. But I was a science student because, yeah, at that time there was nothing like career guidance in my high school. It was more of you get high scores, you go to science. You get middle average, you go to geography and other things, just in a nutshell. So definitely 5 years of my bachelor's was really hard. I can't even try to explain that. Yeah, the good thing about it, I feel it made me such a creative person, because what they do is and when you're talking about your experience of you learned political science and journalism, and you're saying now you feel right now that your job that you're not doing is not connected to your major, that just reminded me in my head, feel like I feel sometimes our jobs are not going to be written where a political scientist or you are a journalist, but something in it can be related to what you have studied. You understand? So then in architecture, when I did my bachelor, I I was doing the design thing. They have when you're in that studio, it's like we work in a studio where everyone has their own table and their computer, desktop, whatever. It's like great environment. And the first years are in kind of a little bit not so pretty, but the last years, the fourth years, you go even into special, like maybe 6 students in one studio, like one room. In the you get separated into different studios, and you have like it's such a really great environment for creativity. I can't take that away, because the exposure, what they teach you, sorry, it was just, I never imagined I was going to be in that field. And that's how I started. Then right now, I'm not working. I have my own business, and I feel more convinced that I want to try that. I hope I could like really raise a very successful company that has to deal with Namibia and China. For one, I don't the whole time I know students have a lot of problems, so I'm trying to solve those things with the problems that students in China, between China and Namibia, that's my focus point, but I can always help someone outside of that scope. Anyways, why am I talking about that? I feel the time when I was in my bachelor, it gave me such an opening eye to design, critical thinking, openness, outside the box, like what's the possibility? Because it just elevated my mind just on a whole new place. And to add on that, it's because I was the only like foreign in my studio. I was the only foreign student. So I had to be very much independent. I had to think of myself, like everything is like plan, make it out, plan, make it out, plan and do it, plan and do it. So that's my background of my bachelor. And yeah, I'm also looking forward. I feel with what I learned, just even from my major, there are a lot of opportunities, even in my own country, Namibia. There are a lot of opportunities, even in China, even in like international organizations. So some days, if I feel convinced enough, I can also take a look for those opportunities. But yeah, that was my bachelor in a nutshell.
Cool.
Sounds
So how many
interesting,
languages
right?
can you speak? Yeah. How many languages can you speak?
I can speak three, like just Chinese,
Mm.
English, and the local African language. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And was
You
it
you
difficult
speak
to
also three? You also speak three
no,
languages?
both, both.
Oh, cool.
I speak Italian, Spanish, English, and Chinese. And I
Mhm.
was trying to also study Japanese.
Oh,
But then I got a little bit bored, because I
yeah.
think that one language, like when you study it, you also need to like the culture. And of course, I'm not saying, oh, Japanese culture is not, no. It's that I'm not like in love with the culture, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
When I'm not like 100% into something, it's
Mm,
a little bit difficult for me to dedicate myself like a lot, you know, to
that's so
to
true.
study, for example, to study this language for me, it's a little bit impossible if I'm not like 100% in love with it. So for me, it was different with Chinese because, like, Chinese is the most difficult language to learn in the world. I mean, for us, from, for example, for you that you are from Africa, I think it's the most difficult language to learn. For me, that I'm European, it's the same. Of course, for Chinese people, probably the most difficult language to learn might be, I don't know, Arabic or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
or
Arabic
German.
sounds more like
I have
even
no idea.
harder. Yeah.
But yeah, but for us, I think Chinese is the most
Hardest. Yeah.
difficult language. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's impressive now how we start learning Chinese, how we started learning Chinese, and then we just got it. We just mastered it. We're just doing it. But I really like the age when we're young, we can learn so fast and we're so much committed, more committed. I mean, not when we're young, but that age. I mean, is it like 18, 17, 19? If someone can
Yeah,
even start Chinese earlier, I think that would be, if someone can start learning Chinese earlier, I think that is even a good thing. Yeah, because looking at it now, it feels like, wow, we learned that language. We literally passed through it and it was hard, but it was not that hard as well. But now thinking about it, you feel like it's not that hard, right?
I mean, yeah, but that's because like I already forgot how difficult it was at that time. Because like at that time it was, I was studying from when I was 17. I'm not talking about university. I was studying from 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. every single day. Like actually not like, for example, in Italy, we go to class from 8 to 1 p.m. and then we go back home, we do our homework, and in 1 or maybe 2 hours we just finish our homework, and then we got time to do everything we want. In China was different. In China, I was studying like Chinese people do. So it was like from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day. And at 9 p.m., finally, we would finish our classes and we would go back to our dormitory. Then on Saturday, it was from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we could go to our host family's house, because I didn't mention it before, but I was hosted during the weekend from a host family. And during the week, I was, living in a dormitory. And like on Sunday, we would also have classes, like from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. So they were like evening classes. And it was like a nightmare, it was a nightmare because like you didn't have the time to relax, to just, do other stuff. And the thing that I didn't like a lot was that the professors were putting on you a lot of pressure. So, for example, we wanted to go on a trip to Yunnan, and they were like, no, you're not going. You first take the test, which was HSK, So, HSK, for those who don't know what it is a language proficiency test for Chinese. So basically, I passed HSK 5 after 8 months of studying Chinese. So like from 0 to HSK 5, 8 months. And HSK 4, I think I spent like 3 or 4 months. I don't remember like exactly how long I spent studying it. But it was crazy because like, as I said, like professors were like, didn't give you the freedom that you have, for example, in Italy, no? Because like in Italy, like if you don't study, the professor doesn't care. He's like, you need to do it for yourself, not for me. Like in China is different because like Chinese are like, if you don't study, then the dean of the school will be mad at me and I will lose my job. And the dean of the school probably has someone like that is like above him. And so he has this, important responsibility to I don't know, to have, you know, good professors in the school, good students that actually bring results. So the thing was that after like passing HSK 5 after 8 months, we became like popular in China because like the television was coming to register, you know, videos of us, and yeah, we're going on televisions, you know. In China, just because we passed HSK, and it was an honor actually for the school to have us like this. So yeah, and we would stay there like presenting ourselves and showing our abilities in speaking Chinese. How was it for you? Like, how long did it take for you to pass HSK? I cannot hear you anymore. I don't know what happened. Still cannot hear you.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I did HSK4. HSK4 in one, we had 1 year of HSK, not 1 year, but like 6 months of HSK4. And then the next semester was preparation for academic Chinese. Academic Chinese, we had math, we had physics, we had science, chemistry, we had, yeah, like that in Chinese. So the 6 month was preparing us to HSK4, and then the other 6 month, or like a semester, was to prepare for us for the academic Chinese. So yeah, we did about a whole semester for HSK4, and HSK4 was the requirement for that time. Like, okay, we can pass HSK4. I tried to do HSK5, but then I didn't pass my HSK5. I could still try it if or so, but that was like long time ago. That was like 9 years ago, right? When we started, because we did 1 year of Chinese. So, but the whole point was for us, we prepared, they told us we should prepare for HSK4. And if you want, you can try HSK5. And we had like maybe just a month of trying to prepare for HSK5, because the focus was just prepare HSK4 and that's it. And I could say that the time for us to prepare HSK5 was not really there. So what they did is, when we finished HSK4, they realized maybe we did good or something, they say, oh, you could try HSK5. But HSK5 still needs you to prepare so much, right? And we didn't do that preparation. Like, they have a lot more longer sentences and longer passages, and things are more extreme than HSK4. So yeah, I just did my HSK4, and I never tried HSK5 again after failing for the first time. Yeah. And that was still in the Tongji University, the university where I was in Shanghai. And the only, I know when I was studying Chinese, we were always in the library, like with my friend. At that time, I had a friend who I was hanging out with as well from Namibia, because we're like a lot of us from Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, like the whole country. I mean, all countries were there. So my friend at the time was Namibian, and then we'll be in the library. The classes would happen from morning time to 4 p.m. Yeah, around 4 p.m., 5 p.m. That's when we'll knock off. Yeah, not in the evening. Evenings, we'll use it to study. And that whole year, most of my time, I just spent it in the library. I don't remember. There was nothing like really having fun at that time. It was not, we were not pushed, but it's because ordinary for me, as like, especially in my younger years, I would always be in the library. I would always be in the library all the time. Even when I was in Namibia, I would like be in the library, sleeping in the library, waking up in the morning and catching maybe a taxi or a bus to go back to my home. If that the time when I was in university. In my high school, I'll still be like Saturday, Sundays, I'll be in the library, right? So that was my story. And Chinese, now for me to get Chinese and how hard it was, I noticed that I needed to pay more attention and put in more hours. So we would, and there was nothing like travel to any other place. No, I mean, we're like 18, 19. We're just in this new place, and our responsibility was to study because we're moving to another university. So we study here and go to another university, right? So we would just like study every day, because we would have like test upon test
each and every time. Test. And it seems like every day there was a test there, because she always had to test what she studied, she taught us the previous day. But the teachers were really excellent. And the Chinese were practicing in listening, writing, reading the first semester to prepare for HSK, right? And then after that, yeah, we had those academic Chinese. I remember the first times when we'll do tests, because almost every day we're having a test. So you will fail, especially at the beginning. We were failing at the beginning, but eventually we caught up. And the first days I was definitely crying and all that. Yeah, I cried at some points, because it was like, why is it so hard? Yeah, I cried at some point, but eventually when we got used to the system, we just enjoyed, and it was fun. They would take us for trips, like if there's an holiday, they will take us to some holiday places, and we'll come back, and then we'll start. I don't remember really friends at that time. I only remember studies. Yeah. And maybe because the language, or it was we're just at school. Yeah, we're just at school. Yeah. That's what happened
For me, I remember, like, of course, the classmates that I had, because we were like a family, you know. Because, for example, from 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., we would be in class like every single day together. Then we would go back to the dormitory, and still, you know, our room were close to each other, no? And I was in a
I can hear you.
I'm sorry, my father. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
People say they are bothering me. Hopefully he doesn't call me again.
It's all right. It's okay. Yeah.
This is why I told you, like, if we make a live, probably there is like some
Oh
problem.
yeah, there might be someone who is going to call, and yeah. No, this is better. I like this one, because we're not even pressured to respond and speak. We just record, and then we'll edit later. Yeah.
Exactly. So what I was talking about now, I forgot. Yes, I was
Your
talking
friend.
about
Your
my
friends.
friends. Yeah. So I was like never alone, because, you know, we were in the same dormitory. We were eating together, like breakfast, lunch, dinner. And, you know, I am an only child, so like I don't have any siblings. And staying like 24/7 with someone was a little bit bothering for me, because I was not actually used to, for example, share spaces like my room, or like other stuff, or like, I don't know, share my food with other people. But we were 12 and we became a family. There were like 8 people from Thailand, 3 people included me, from Italy, and 1 from Germany. So we were like a small team, a small family. Sometimes we would be like a little bit pissed off, because, you know, like we were influencing each other's life. Sometimes we would get along pretty well, but like right now, you know, after 6 years, we're still in contact with each other, and it's beautiful, because, you know, it's not just about living in China, it is also about living with the world, you know. Like, if in this life I will never go to Thailand, I still got the opportunity to experience Thai people, you know, to make friends with them. And it was beautiful, you know. It was like, for example, when I graduated, one of these Thai friends that she's also studying in Shanghai, she came to my graduation ceremony. So like we finally met each other after 6 years. And I think it's not like something that everyone does, you know, because like sometimes you just lose contact with that person that you met 6 years ago, and that's it, you know. But us, no, like we still send messages, we still do video calls, and we still try to keep this bond. Yeah.
That's so sweet for you. I can tell you, people that I studied with in Shanghai, my very first year, that's like 10 years ago, I definitely don't have any contact with anyone, unfortunately. I think most of them, and most of them, after their bachelor, they left to go back to Namibia. And then I stayed. For me, I stayed for my master's. And we also went to different universities. We just lost touch. But I love that you stayed in touch with your friends from the beginning, because it's really important to make really great friendship in life and also when you are living abroad, right? So that's so sweet to know. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, I forgot what I was going to ask you. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you a question and I forgot. Okay, so what was your relationship and how it is now with Chinese people?
I feel like even when I was in the time of studying, the Chinese people, we still have like each other's WeChat contact, right? The one that I studied with are still having WeChat like contacts here and there, but not like as so close. And the only thing is, when I was studying, definitely I was an outcast, like I was the only foreigner, black to be that, I mean, from Africa, and I stand out just with my skin color, right? So, and they were younger than me because we did Chinese 1 year. Remember, I finished high school and then 1 year of Chinese. For them, they directly just came in. So they're maybe 2 years younger than me, maybe 2 years younger than me. So I had great friends at that time, like maybe one or two great friends. And what I remember is my classmates were really helpful. Yeah. And my teachers were also very, very helpful. If it wasn't for them, I would definitely have maybe dropped out, because I was studying with some people who dropped out of the university that time, and when I was in the class that time, I would go to them asking what is the homework. And sometimes people can announce homeworks in the classroom and you have no idea that there's a very important homework that needs to be submitted. So I'll always I need to be close by my classmates, ask them what's the homework, when is the deadline, how to do this, how to do that. And my teachers, the very first time when I did design class, my teacher really held me together, like held me through every step to do what I was supposed to do. So at that time, the relationship with my classmates and my teachers was really nice, kind, sweet, and close. Yeah. Eventually, that has been a long time. Or I can still go to my teachers, but maybe I can also still go to my schoolmates, but not as often as that time when we were studying. Yeah. And in general, we make friends along the way when we are studying. We make friends outside of campus eventually. Or I just feel sometimes the relationship that we build can be a little bit can be fragile, because everyone is moving out. Some of the Chinese classmates also went to study abroad for their masters. As I stayed for my masters, they also went out to America, to UK, to different parts of the world. And it's not an excuse that it's not an excuse why we dropped out in connection, but maybe there were really not a lot of intersections of interesting things to hang on with. Yeah. But it has
Of
been
course, I think
amazing.
that's normal, like many relationships, they just last for the period that you are together with them. Then people take different paths, and it's normal. I think it's normal.
Yeah,
For
it's
me,
normal.
my relationship with Chinese people is beautiful because when they see that I can speak their language, they're like, "Oh my God, you can speak Chinese." And they're so happy in speaking Chinese, and I'm like, okay. I'm also satisfied about the fact that I can communicate with them without any problems. Yeah. And so like we start talking, and then eventually, like most of the time, we become friends. And in Italy, we have a prejudice where people think that Chinese people are very cold, introvert, people that never, speak with like they think that Chinese people don't even